Volkswagen has made some controversial decisions in recent years. With the introduction of capacitive buttons in almost all of their vehicles, in addition to axing some of their greatest hits in my opinion, VW have definitely scared off a decent amount of their fanbase with the smallest of poor decisions. However, there are a couple fantastic vehicles in their lineup worth checking out. Ones that feature fully physical switchgear, some decent powertrain choices, a great amount of equipment, and surprisingly good pricing. Specifically, the model I'm looking at in this video is the Volkswagen Taos, a compact SUV derived from the European Seat Ateca and the Skoda Karoq, vehicles that we do not get in the US. The Taos is a little different though. It actually shares most of its internals with the Volkswagen Jetta, including the platform, powertrain, switchgear, and even most of the interior design, which to many is a massive plus. Even though some of the materials are cheaper than rivals, the SEL I'm looking at has splurged. This gets ventilated Vienna leather seats, color-changing ambient lighting, all-wheel drive, driving modes, a ton of safety equipment, USB-C, and full LED lighting, just to name a few. I was quite impressed by the amount of equipment here. A lot of these features are exclusive to the SEL, but the S model features the exact same powertrain for a significantly lower cost at $24K, a significantly lower price than this model, which is $36,600 fully optioned. The powertrain is a small 1.5 turbo inline-4, dubbed the EA211 Evo, outputting only 158 horsepower, but you get 184 pound-feet of torque at a significantly low 1750 RPMs, so it's not as slow as you think. For a commuter car that gets 24 miles per gallon in the city and 32 miles per gallon on the highway, I think it's relatively stout. Plus, the 4Motion models even get a 7-speed DSG, which is essentially an automated manual transmission with a clutch for downshifting and another for upshifting. However, if you want to be a hypermiling king, the front-wheel drive only Jetta, another vehicle I recommend you cross-shop, with the same powertrain and its 8-speed automatic, can get up to 40 miles per gallon on the highway and 42 with a 6-speed manual. The main reason you would want the Taos over the Jetta though is for the ride height, turning radius, space, and most importantly, the 4Motion all-wheel drive. Let's get started and see if the Taos SEL is worth it or not. First, I'd love to give a massive shout out to Findlay Volkswagen. They have kindly lent me this Taos for the day, allowing me to explore the driving dynamics and features. The Taos has a pretty unique front fascia. It uses VW's new wide mouth style grille, but I think it looks nice here. There's a bit of chrome, but not too much. I don't know how I feel about the gloss black front bumper though. My idea is that they wanted this to match with the gloss black contrasting roof option available on other Taos models, but this doesn't have that, so I include it here. Anyways, the bottom grille has a nice silver mouthpiece and some diamond style trim, but what really surprised me is these functional air curtains, a feature which is usually fake on a lot of other cars. My favorite part about the front of the Taos is these full LED IQ light projector headlights with DRLs and LED turn signals. These also feature a cornering light, though I couldn't figure out how to demonstrate that in this video. However, these fancy ones are only available on the SEL, although the S and SE still get LED headlights. The side profile of the Taos is defined by this big shoulder line running from front to back. Right beneath it, you get kind of a cool Taos wing badge, which is quite conservative. The doors feature keyless entry with a push button rather than a touch-sensitive pad, which I actually think is great for things like car washes and inclement weather. Further down, you get some sweet 19-inch wheels wrapped in 235/45 rubber, which I found to be a somewhat smooth ride. Around those are some body-cladded wheel arches, and I think the body cladding is well done here. You can even see some dirt already on the cladding, making it pretty functional for that too. Right above the shoulder line, you'll notice heated, door-mounted mirrors with no turn signal sadly, and they're not even power folding. Features that I'm surprised aren't on the top trim, but you do get a blind spot indicator. This leads me on to the window trim, which is only present in the bottom half of the window, a cost-cutting measure that has been done on the Jetta for over a decade, so I'm not really disappointed by that here. On the B-pillar, they put little Volkswagen badging, which I think is quite neat, and further up are some pretty sweet silver roof rails. The back of the Taos is an example of great car design. In fact, I think that the taillight profile resembles that of the Audi Q5, technically its bigger and more luxurious cousin. The taillights are full LED with dedicated amber turn signals, making these some of my favorite taillights in the car industry. Even better, these are standard across the board. Now only if the Jetta brought back the amber turn signals. There's a couple body lines running their way around the back to give it a sculpted look, and they really took some time into styling the rear bumper, including a silver fake diffuser and some decent body cladding. The most disappointing thing about this is that the exhaust vents are completely fake, which is silly since the real exhaust is basically right behind it. The liftgate itself is not powered, unfortunately, but the struts hold it up perfectly, and there's a rear wiper built in too. So I think Volkswagen did a good job with the Taos' exterior. There's a couple minor improvements to be made, but it's pretty functional. The interior follows suit, featuring some cool touches like a sculpted dashboard, but overall, it features all of the switchgear you need in the areas you want. You'll begin by sitting in these soft and supportive Vienna leather seats, which are power only for the driver, but both the front seats are heated and ventilated by physical buttons. They're two-tone and have good bolster support. They even have some nice piping for a premium feel. The driver's seat has two-way lumbar, four-way height, two-way slide, and two-way recline adjustments, but the passenger seat only has two-way height, two-way slide, and two-way recline, although it's still a great seat. The heated steering wheel is surprisingly leatherette, but it feels great with physical buttons. The turn signals have a nice feel to them, but if you click this button, you can toggle safety systems right from the cluster, which I'll look at in a second. The wiper stalk follows suit too, with a rain sensing feature. The right side of the steering wheel controls your fully digital 10.25-inch Volkswagen Digital Cockpit Pro. The base models offer this terrible, tiny digital display that doesn't allow drivers to see both the tach and the speedo at the same time, so this fixes that. There's so much different information you can display, with each page having its own list of information possible. Plus, you can change the style of gauges with the press of a button, which is nice for things like your navigation. You can further customize the gauges themselves in the infotainment screen, so you can display even more prominent information. The silver parts of the controls include back and next buttons for the right side, and volume controls for the left side, which is also where your cruise controls live. You get adaptive cruise control on the Taos 2, and the cruise controls themselves are effortless to use. Finally, your fuel gauge lives on the far right, and your oil temp gauge lives on the far left. The steering column is fully tilting and telescoping with loads of range. To the left of the column are your auto headlight controls, which are effortlessly simple and easy. The door panels feature one touch for all windows. You get power mirror controls right next to that, but again, I'm sad to see the lack of power folding mirrors here. The front door panels feature nice, soft touch materials, and some cool patterns too, working their way down to the padded armrests, which are surprisingly firm. The door pockets are cheap plastic, but they are massive. Right next to that is the fuel door opener, which means that the Taos doesn't have the push-open one that we are used to seeing, which is odd. The dash, however, is disappointingly cheap feeling. It is hard plastic, but everything feels really well screwed together here. The dash also features this glossy trim to match the exterior, which I think is really cool. Plus there's even the soft leatherette trim just beneath that to break it up. And in the middle of the dash is the star of the show, your 8-inch Discover Media touchscreen with nav, CarPlay, and Android Auto. Let's take a deep dive. First, you'll notice a light implementation of gesture control for paging through the screens. It's gimmicky, but very cool. For media, you get AM, FM, XM, Bluetooth, which by the way allows you to change the name of the vehicle, and wireless and wired CarPlay and Android Auto. Though I found my phone to lag on it while I was recording. It was perfectly fine off camera though. You get multi-touch navigation with a full screen keyboard. You can customize all of your safety systems from here too, but you can customize the vehicle a lot through this system. First, you can customize the digital cockpit like I showed earlier, but you can also see your trip computer and your TPMS information on those screens. But click on the settings button and prepare to have a lot of fun here. There are so many aspects to customizing your Taos, but my favorite is the color changing ambient lighting. You can either change the color yourself or have it change with the driving modes, which I'll get into later. These are incredibly customizable and really add a whole vibe to the interior of the Taos. You can also change units and things like that in the vehicle settings. Since you have a Beats Audio sound system, you can customize the sound balance and even your subwoofer, as well as your fader pretty easily. Now, even though this doesn't have the dreaded climate controls, you can actually control fan speed and temperature through the screen if you want to. You can rearrange apps however you like. There are fully physical knobs, which is a neat touch, and you can even use those for CarPlay. And lastly, you can swipe down for some neat shortcut settings, but I do miss having a turning knob for instrument panel lighting. You do get dual zone, fully physical climate controls though. They allow you to jump from low to high pretty easily. You get all of the buttons you could possibly need, including heated and ventilated seat controls, although these do merge the air direction into one button instead of three, but you can see which direction they point on the screen, and you can intervene here if you want. This is how it should be done. A funny thing I noticed is that when the system is off, it has one little F that's off from the other two letters, but it's a creative approach. Right beneath those are two USB-C ports, a 12-volt socket, and a really neat wireless charger. Next is the shifter for the 7-speed DSG with manual, shift, and sport modes. The rear view camera is a decent resolution with park distance control, but sadly no 360 camera is available here, unlike the Mazda CX-30 Turbo. Here is the finger brake, your auto start stop off, which you have to turn off every single time, but this is the driving mode selector, and you get snow, road, and off-road modes. For road modes, you get Eco, Normal, Sport, and Custom. Custom allows you to customize so many aspects of the driving feel, but I just like to put the steering in Sport for a nice drive. The off-road mode also has a custom setting option with a couple more customizable items. Just beneath that is the perfect spot for cup holders, which hold my cup perfectly. And next to those is the perfect spot for your key fob, though I think a handbrake would have fit the bill much better. The key fob, by the way, is really lightweight and even has remote start. The center armrest is padded, but it doesn't have a latch. It does have light walls, so it's easy to see inside. I think that's pretty clever. The glove box isn't lockable, but provides a decent amount of space, even though I've seen Jettas with slightly larger glove boxes. Overhead, you get an auto-dimming mirror with no compass, but thank goodness you get physical dome-like controls. Same goes for the sunroof, which is fully panoramic, letting all of that light into your two-tone interior. The sun visors feel nice with LED lighting, but the passenger side doesn't extend. Not surprising for VW, but something I found in rivals. I am a little disappointed that there isn't a sunglass holder, but the passenger side gets a nice little storage net. Overall, Volkswagen did a very good job with the front seats of the Taos, providing physical buttons and comfortable amenities, and the back seat has nice amenities too, like Vienna leather on the outboard surfaces, although it's very apparent that the middle features some kind of leatherette or vinyl surfacing. There's great legroom and great headroom with me being 5'8". The door panels feature lots of hard plastic, with the only padding to be found on the armrest. But you still get one-touch windows and good-sized door pockets. A feature I'm surprised to see are seat pockets for both the driver and passenger sides, plus we get rear air vents back here, which you don't get on the Jetta. Plus, you get one USB-C port. I would have appreciated a second one, but this will do in most cases. The center armrest is well done, with good padding and 3 cup holder sizes. Plus, there's even a pass-through to the trunk, allowing you to carry larger items with the seats in place. Overhead, you get physical dome lights and grab handles for both sides, and you get ISOFIX/latch anchors for the outboard seats. They do feel flimsy though. But how's middle seat comfort? You get a decent transmission tunnel, sending your feet outwards, but I found it to be okay with decent shoulder room, meaning that it could be used for maybe a 30-minute car ride. The second row is definitely much better than I thought it was going to be, but let's look at the liftgate, which features tethering hooks, LED lighting, pockets everywhere, a 12-volt socket, and a really neat parcel shelf for privacy. If we remove that and fold the seats, we can turn the Taos into a small van, allowing us to carry lots of items that we couldn't in a Jetta. And you can carry those items with the cargo protection system to hold them in place. Lift that up though, and you get a space-saver spare with a jack. So you actually get some great amenities in the liftgate, but let's look at the driving impressions, because I actually quite liked the driving dynamics of the Taos. First is the steering. The Taos has electric power steering, so it is light, but very responsive. Putting it in the sport mode adds some resistance, making it more enjoyable in my opinion. Throttle response is great. You get a top-mounted pedal, so it's easy to get the power down. The transmission is a bit jerky at low speeds, since it acts like a manual transmission. Instead of creeping, it will actuate into first gear if your foot is neither on the brake or the pedal, then it will go into neutral when you put your foot on the brake. It takes getting used to, but it's perfectly fine from my experience. When accelerating, it's incredibly smooth and responsive though. It takes a little bit of time to get to freeway speed limits, but you don't need to rev excessively high to do so. The 0 to 60 time is around just over 7 seconds, which is perfectly adequate for a commuter car, especially since you get decent fuel economy. Braking feel is about what you would expect for a Volkswagen. They're disc brakes, so the feel is not sensitive, but it doesn't take any difficulty to stop. And this leads me on to the handling. It has a little more body roll than the Jetta since it's a tad lifted, but it's not really noticeable in daily driving. It's nimble and easy to control. Suspension is somewhere in the middle between firm and soft. It soaks up the bumps perfectly fine, but it's not bouncy. It's well tuned for its size. And because you get fully physical switchgear, it's a breeze to use while driving. So overall, it has fantastic driving characteristics for a commuter car, but I would love to drive one of these with GLI levels of power. Now that would be fun. So overall, I would recommend the Volkswagen Taos if you're looking for a compact SUV. Sure, it cheaps out in some areas, but it's well refined. Not everyone needs all the extra bells and whistles like on this SEL, and you can save quite a bit of money by getting an S or an SE trim. Once you're there, it's Volkswagen's cheapest all-wheel drive offering with some of the best switchgear on offer in today's market. Even though you could cross-shop the Honda HR-V and the Toyota Corolla Cross, this is the only one of those with a DSG or traditional automatic on the front-wheel drive model. Plus, it's even got better driving characteristics and more power over the HR-V specifically. For a Volkswagen enthusiast looking for something a daily, this might be hard to beat though. However, if the SEL fits your budget and you're looking for more power, I recommend checking out the Mazda CX-30 Turbo, which offers a bigger engine with more power than a GLI. I would love to drive one of these with GLI levels of power. And better options at a near identical price point. The base model even features 40 more horsepower than the Taos, and that starts at a similar price to the Taos S. And if that wasn't enough, it might be fun to drive, although I have not checked one out for myself just yet. Maybe I should. Either way, the Taos is a great package for the money, though I recommend opting for the S or SE trims. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, drive safe. I'll see you in the next video.